Hey art friends, today we're drawing something really cool. I hope you're going to follow along with me. We're drawing a spider skeleton. Let's get started. I'm first using a gray colored pencil, Prismacolor, and we're going to use that to draw the main shapes. I'm also using our Canson marker paper. This is my favorite paper to use, especially because we're using our alcohol-based markers to color with. But also remember, you don't have to use the same supplies. You can use whatever you have. You can use regular pencils and just sketch the whole thing. You could also use something completely different like watercolor or colored pencils instead of markers. All right, let's start with our gray pencil. We're going to draw all the main shapes. Let's first draw our spider's thorax, or cephalothorax, I think is what it's called for a spider. We're going to draw a circle in the middle of our paper. Let's draw it a little bit towards the top so that we have room for big, long legs towards the bottom. So I'm going to draw a circle about this big. And also remember, don't worry about making these lines look perfect. They can be messy. Now let's draw the abdomen. We're going to draw it kind of big, but let's draw a center line first. So I'm going to draw it coming down so we can, this helps us keep the drawing symmetrical on both sides. Now we can draw that abdomen. I'm going to start up here. We're going to draw kind of a point or a raindrop shape. So we're going to come back up and connect. Could also call this a leaf shape. So it's rounded at the bottom and we have the point right in the center. Let's draw the fangs. I'm going to draw a pointed letter V, or maybe a U, letter U with a point, which is a V. We have this curve right here, so it kind of looks like a U. And I can draw these first little legs. I think these are called pedipalps. We're going to draw a curve that comes down. We can draw a point and then come back up. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So whatever we draw on the left side, we're going to draw on the right so that it's symmetrical. Now we're going to draw all of the legs, and we're going to draw these in segments and turn them into bones. First we'll draw a small segment, then we're going to draw a longer segment coming further out to the left. Then we're going to draw it coming down. We're going to draw these exaggerated or extra long, and let's build the other side too, so we don't get too far ahead of ourselves and so that they match. So we're going to draw that next segment, and then we're going to draw it coming down. And it's okay if it is a little different on both sides. We can draw the legs positioned differently. Maybe it's walking or has one leg out further than the other. Then we're going to draw another segment. I'm going to go a little quicker since we're just drawing these main shapes. Another segment, and then the last one we're going to draw it pointed. So it looks scary. Let's draw the same amount of segments. 3. 2 small ones, and then a pointed one. Oh, it's starting to look really cool. Okay, next we're going to add another leg. We'll start with that small one. We can do the same on the other side. Then let's bend this one up a little higher. Then we could also add a small one in between so it's different than this one. We'll draw it coming down. And then we're going to draw, on this one, let's leave off these 2 simple ones or smaller ones and just go right to the point. Let's do the same thing over here. We're going to add that small segment in the joint or that knee, and then we'll come down and come back up, draw the other side. My pencil's getting a little dull, so we're going to sharpen it. There we go. We got 4 legs. Now we need to draw 2 more on each side. We'll start with that small segment, and then we're going to draw it coming up higher, and then coming back in. Then we're going to draw that small knee. Then we'll draw a smaller bone. This one's going to be curled up like it's walking. So we're going to draw this, and then maybe the claw or that last one goes behind this leg. All right, let's repeat that same leg over here. Remember, if I ever go too fast, you need that extra time, you can always pause the video. All right, we got the same shape here. We're going to draw this smaller one coming out. Then we're going to draw, oh, I'm closer to the page over here. I think this leg got further out. Also might have the spider shifted more. So I'm going to draw this leg tucking closer to this leg here. Okay, that's okay that it's a little off. There's no mistakes in art. We love just turning our little things that you might call a mistake into something else. Okay, then we're gonna draw a longer segment coming up. This one, we're gonna draw it curving behind the body, coming this way, and then the claw will have it coming down. Well, that's awesome. Okay, let's draw that same thing here. We drew that a little more curved, draw it straighter. We'll draw a smaller segment, smaller one coming in, and then a curve coming down. Also remember, you can change your drawings. Maybe you want to position the legs differently than how I have them. You can spread them out more. You could also draw the legs smaller if you don't want to fill the whole paper. And that's it. There's our main shapes for our spider. Except let's add more details so it looks like a skeleton. We're going to turn this into a rib cage type part of the body, even though this is not what a real spider looks like. We're going to change it into our Halloween spider, so it's a skeleton. So the center of this will look like the center of our chest or a sternum. And then, so let's draw that shape in here. So I drew a curve coming up and down. Then we're going to draw the sternum coming right through the middle. And then we're going to draw the ribs. So let's draw a shape right here on each side. We're going to draw the shapes in between the ribs. So this is the darker part, or inside the rib cage. I'm going to go back on each side and repeat the same shape. There we go. It's starting to look like a rib cage. We're going to draw it coming up. We're going to get smaller to stay with the shape of the abdomen. There we go. Maybe one more. Oh, maybe just a small one right here at the top. Whoa, that's starting to look scary. Okay, we're going to draw little maybe bumps on the outside of the cephalothorax. I think the top of this is really hard, almost like a shield. And I think that's called a carapace. I'm probably wrong, or mispronouncing it. let's add our skeleton eyes here too. So we're going to draw two ovals on each side. And then, oh, we could even add, maybe there's a spine. So I'm going to draw shapes coming up, stacking on top of each other, connecting the cephalothorax to the abdomen. And that looks like a spine on a skeleton. We're going to draw all of the different vertebrae. Oh, that looks cool. Okay, now let's draw the bones for each of the legs. We'll start with these small ones right here. I'm going to draw a segment. Let's draw this bone coming in like that. Yeah, that looks really cool. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we have another segment that we're creating right here. So we got this curve and it comes down, and then we're going to turn it into, so this is a little bone right here on each side. And then we're going to draw the fangs really sharp. Now let's move on to the next leg. I'm going to draw this bone coming into that smaller segment. And we can draw it coming towards the middle or getting thinner inside, and then it comes out at the end. So it looks like a bone, a femur bone, or maybe some type of a human bone. Then we're going to draw this joint right here. I'm going to draw it getting thicker at the joints, and then when we come down here, it's going to get thinner. Then when we come to where it connects to the next segment, we're going to get wider. See how it comes out? All right, let's do that same thing to the smaller segment. So we're going to come out wide, then we'll get thinner, and then we'll come out again and get wider towards the bottom. Let's do that again one more time. We're going to do this step by step on this first leg, but then on each of the other legs, we'll just repeat the same steps. So remember to pause the video. I'm going to fast forward and complete each of these legs. So we get wider when it comes into the joint, we get thinner in the middle, and then we get wider out here at this joint too. So remember to pause the video and take time to add these extra details to all of the segments for each leg. All right, we did it. We finished adding the bones for each of those segments. So we turned the simple shapes into these more detailed bone shapes. And it looks really cool. It's starting to come together. Now we need to add shading. You could leave it just like this. It's a really cool drawing. But if we add shading, it'll look even more realistic and 3D. Let's switch to our markers, and I'm using CG1. This is a really light gray, and I'm gonna go through and add the first layer or shadows to my spider. Let's first start with the middle of the body, or the cephalothorax. We're gonna start here, and I'm gonna pretend that the light is shining from the left side. So we're gonna shade everything on the right side. And I'm gonna start here. We're gonna even add texture lines into this thing. Let's color actually the whole thing solid. Or not the whole thing. We're gonna color the right side solid. And maybe even come around. We'll color in the eyes. Oh, let's color in the fangs. And I'm coloring most of the right side. We could leave a little highlight, but on this side, we'll leave a larger highlight. Okay, now let's draw these first little arms, or color in the first arms. We're gonna color the right side. And on this side, let's color in, maybe this is up higher, it's bent. So you can see a little highlight on the leg, and then we'll color the right side. See how just adding this light gray makes it look 3D. Now we're gonna color this first leg. We're gonna color the bottom side, since the light is shining this way. We're gonna color the opposite side of the leg. So I'm gonna come down the right side. We'll go over it a couple times to make sure it's a little darker. And we can color this side. I'm gonna color more of the leg since it's bending up, over, and then bending back down. So more of this part of the leg will be in shadow. Even this bottom talon or claw is gonna be mostly dark. Maybe we'll color this side. That should have probably been lighter, but that's okay. We just keep going. We're gonna color the right side. And on this, it's bent up higher, so we'll color less of the leg. Then when we come down here, we'll color the right side all the way down. We can also color in between the joints. There's a little shadow there. Now let's repeat that for the rest of the legs. We're gonna color the opposite side of the light. So the light is shining here on the top left. We're gonna color the right and bottom side of all the legs. Now with the abdomen, I'm gonna color in between all of the ribs. Then I'm also gonna go back over it and color or fill in the right side of the ribs so that this side is in shadow. That's our first layer of shadows, all complete. Now we're gonna add our second layer using a darker gray CG7. And we'll go back over it and darken in some of the other shadows, especially in between the joints. We're gonna add a darker shadow. And then we can also add it where we know that the shadow is really dark close to the body. I'm also coloring in the eyes, and let's color in between all of the ribs. There we go. Now we have more contrast on our skeleton. We have these really dark shadows inside of the joints. We have a lighter shadow on the bones. Then we can switch to our black color pencil. I'm gonna go around and sharpen some of the edges and also add some texture on the body. I'm also using my black color pencil to color in between the ribs. Now it's looking really cool. I'm gonna add one last thing, and that's our shadow. I'm using CG1. This will make our spider look like it's standing up off of our paper. So let's start. We also keep in mind where the light's coming from. So the body is close to the paper. So I'm gonna color in a shadow right next to the body here. And color in between the legs. But this leg is sticking up off the paper. So I'm gonna draw a shadow coming this way. Now let's do the legs. And I'm gonna start close to the leg, but then we'll be far away where it's sticking up, where the leg is above the paper. And then we come back into where the leg is touching the paper. So now let's make this look more like the shadow of bones. So we add those little ridges and kind of bumps in the bones. So we got that same shadow coming down onto the paper. Now this leg, let's do the same thing. We're gonna come up and then we'll come in to the body. So we draw the main line of that shadow first, and then we add the little shapes after and make the shadow thicker. Let's do the same thing with this one. Draw coming up, this, and I'm just gonna imagine it behind this leg. Now for this one, we're gonna draw it coming this way and into the body. All right, now let's draw. These ones are gonna be a little trickier. We're gonna draw it coming this way and behind the leg and then tuck into the body. And then the same thing over here, we'll draw it, maybe we'll draw it coming this way. And we'll bend in. We just gotta imagine where it would be. It's okay if it's not exact. we just wanna make it look cool. There we go. And then maybe this leg, you could just see it coming this way, up, and then we'll bring it back in. And then the same thing with this one. Draw coming out this way, and then back in. And then let's add those bone shapes onto the shadows. I want to make these shadows lighter, so I'm going to go back over them with a white colored pencil. And we did it! We finished drawing and coloring our skeleton spider. It looks so cool, all finished. I hope you paused the video and took time to color and shade and add all of the extra details to your drawing. I'm sure it turned out really cool. Remember, don't worry about making your drawing look exactly like mine. The most important thing is to have fun and practice. And I hope you had a lot of fun following along with me, and we'll see you later, our friends. Goodbye!